Just to give you an idea, when Scotty would train legs, he'd bring a bucket. And he freaking threw up every time he trained legs.
So he just knew he was going to push it to his limit to where...
That's just the way we were all wired back then. We just freaking just...
all in.
Yeah. Supersets, drop sets. I mean, we did a lot of things that the bodybuilders are still doing today, way back then. And you're just on a mission, and I loved it.
Computer audio on. Video on.
Yes.
I think we are all set.
We're all on.
All right.
Let's do this.
So what's up, Pops?
Not much, my boy. Just relaxing on this nice Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday, Groundhog Day.
What happened this morning with that groundhog?
Well, the sun's kind of coming out and then not. So did it see?
I always get confused, man. If it didn't see the shadow, that means it's going to start earlier. If he sees his shadow, he goes back. So you don't know what happened?
Well, no, if he sees his shadow, he gets scared and then goes back in.
Right, so it's going to be longer winter.
Right, yeah.
Or, yeah, winter.
Yeah, but I don't know if you saw his shadow or not.
Hey.
So, welcome to the Health Before Fitness podcast. This is episode number 4, the very first interview round. And we have none other than Dave Nunes, my father, my pops, my bud. And started off by just giving everybody an understanding of who you are. You know, I know you have over 34 years of experience and education in the health and fitness space. You've been a competitive bodybuilder, personal trainer, fitness franchise owner, multiple startup gyms, right? You're on your second one now.
Correct.
And so we will dive into all that stuff. Okay. But first, I kind of want to start it off with just, you know, letting the audience know who you are. Like, where were you born? Okay. And just, you know, where did you go to school? What kind of crew did you hang out with? You know, just, yeah, break it down.
Yeah. So I was born in San Jose, and my parents were together. And then once I was born, I'll make it quick. I'm not gonna do this.
To make a long story short.
Yeah. Once I was born, 6 months after I was born, my mom went into that postpartum depression and pretty much never came out of it. So I'll kind of fast forward. My dad tried everything he could. You know, bought a new house, bought a this and that. She was never happy. So then we moved, and then I remember my dad coming in. I had bunk beds, which was really weird, and I still don't even know why.
So you were only
I'm the only child. And I remember my dad coming in and saying he was leaving. It's kind of wild that she can remember, you know what I mean? And I knew exactly what he meant. So for years, obviously, I was blaming my dad until you get older and realize, no, it was my mom. So my mom wasn't able to literally handle me physically or mentally, so I moved in with my grandparents when I was going into the 3rd grade. And I, honest to God, they were my parents. My mom lived a mile away, and that's a whole nother story. I had a lot of resentment for my mom once I grew up. But then again, she was just not capable of
because of the postpartum mentally?
Yeah, she never, you know, my dad said, you know, prior to all me, that she was normal. Had a great job with the school department, sharp, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then I messed everything up, I guess. You know what I mean? So anyways, I grew up with my grandparents on my mom's side from 3rd grade all the way through my freshman year in high school. Wow. So I, honest to God, had an amazing childhood because of all the friends. You know, when you go to elementary school, and literally these schools are right across the street from each other. So there's an elementary school right across the street is Hoover, we called it junior high back then.
Middle school, yeah.
7th and 8th. And that was just a changing point in my life. That was more impactful than when I went to high school. From 6th grade to junior high, my life just changed for the better. Like, maturity, all kinds of things going on. So those 2 years were probably my best years as far as my schooling goes. And then throughout this whole process, I'd see my dad on every now and then. He was in construction, so he moved away. He's coming to pick me up. I'm standing by the blinds waiting for dad to show up, blah, blah, blah. So then I went, after my freshman year, I went with him for a little while. He was working in Arizona. And I decided I just wanted to be with a dad.
Freshman year in high school.
This was between my freshman and sophomore year. And it's like, you know what? I just want a dad. I just want to be with my dad. And I made my mind up, and when I came home, my grandparents redid my whole room.
Like you weren't there.
Well, they knew my favorite color, I guess at the time, was blue, and they wanted to surprise me. So I walk in, I knew what I was going to tell them, and my room's all redone. It's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? So I told them, and my grandma starts crying because, he always thought of you as my son type thing. So then I moved with my dad, and then we were only there for 1 year in Arizona through my sophomore year. Came back into San Jose, Southside San Jose, and finished up high school there. I think the one thing I want to bring up is, because I know this will kind of segue into where I'm at now, is looking back, I did everything on my own because I wanted to. Meaning, I was always into something. Even in elementary school, I took up guitar. First it was the clarinet.
Elementary school.
Yeah, first it was the clarinet, which I hated,
Yeah, we used the plastic recorders when I was in elementary school. Did you ever use those?
The plastic recorder.
Yeah, it was like a flute almost, but it was a plastic recorder.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So then I didn't like that. And in 6th grade, I took up guitar. Remember my grandparents taking me to guitar lessons and blah, blah, blah. Went to junior high, and they didn't have guitar. So I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to play an instrument. And my dad was a drummer, believe it or not. He was a drummer in the service. And he played, his gigs or whatnot. So I don't know, looking back, if that was the reason, but I started and I became a drummer.
Did he say anything?
No,
Or...
no, he didn't, no. Nobody persuaded me with anything. I was just self-motivated looking back.
With your grandparents, was your grandfather, did he try to play the father role? Did he try to play just the friend role? Was he not that present, or?
That's a good question. My grandparents were obviously amazing. They just did what they had to do. They didn't try to, treat me as, even though they thought of me as their son after so many years of being there, it was smooth. Everything was, I was a good kid.
They didn't try to control you and make you.
No, I don't remember curfews. The only thing I remember is back in the day, you're going to hear that from me a lot, we were always outside. Us kids were outside playing football at the Rose Garden, which is a humongous park in San Jose, baseball, you name it, until the street lights came on. Get home when the street lights come on. That's the type of thing, you know what I mean? And we actually drank water out of neighbors' hoses, and I'm still alive to talk about it.
Can't be too bad for you, right?
Right. Always into something just to keep me, I don't know. When you go through it, you don't think. You just do it.
It's fun. You enjoy it. It brings you happiness. You have a team of people. You get to work together and accomplish things, right?
Yeah.
And then, so fast forwarding to your group, Fragile.
Yep, Fragile.
Right?
Yep.
How did that come about? When did that get started? I mean, I remember seeing pictures of you with your long hair
Mhm.
at, I believe it was San Jose State.
It's hanging up right now, yeah. Spartan Stadium for the San Jose Earthquakes, and it was a packed house. We played in front of however many thousand people were there. I was never nervous.
Just because you knew
I
you were confident in your skills.
I was honest to God, never nervous. Going out, we played a lot of school dances back then. You kids had DJs, we had live bands. We had dances. I want to say, say the first Friday of every month in the evening, which was really, really cool. And they were always, bands, local bands.
And you always played.
Yeah, and then one time there was a battle of the bands. So there was my group plus two others. And, looking back, I don't remember how good they were, but we won. I don't know if it was popularity or whatnot. But
Votes,
anyways.
yeah.
So I was a rock drummer, and I absolutely loved it.
You can still play.
I can still play.
I remember seeing that video. Just in the zone, you're just hitting, you're not even looking. It's almost just off just, repetition and memory. So I want to fast forward a little bit.
Yep.
So, born in San Jose, was really into instruments and music, ended up getting pretty popular as a drummer in a big band, playing in lots of stadiums and things like that. And then that came to an end at some point. And then how exactly did you transition into weightlifting? I know you played sports. So
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
too.
how did the sports come into play, and how did you get into
Again, all us kids, literally where I grew up, we all played sports outside. We did. We always had freaking baseball games and football games. And 12 years old, someone says, "Dave, you could crack a ball. I want you to come over to a practice." And they actually had a game the next day, and the team was called Swift Metals. They were all, sponsored. So I was there, and I swear to gosh, I don't know what pitch it was, but I hit a home run. And everyone's all, "You're playing the ball." So that's how, at 12 years old, I started playing baseball. And I played all through my junior year in high school. As you get older, things start changing, priorities. I got a job. Yes, I played baseball, football, basketball, more so in junior high. I was on a team my freshman year at Lincoln High. It was called Season D's. It wasn't the main A-list basketball team. We had so many kids.
Right.
And evidently there were so many kids at all the other schools.
Yeah.
B team, C team. Yeah. So it was called Season D's.
Got it.
And so I played on that. And as time goes on, it's like I'm just kind of losing interest in it. It's not for me. And the one thing about me is you guys are going to learn is, and I don't really care for it, but I start something, I give it 100% for however long, and then I drop it like a hot potato and I move on to something else. And then when I look back, there's no regrets. So I've always had something, even to this day sitting here, that I guess that you have a purpose for.
Obsessed with, just
all
in. There's no gray, right?
Yeah, and I didn't learn that from anybody. My grandparents brought me up. I came and went as I pleased. I was a good kid. They had nothing to worry about. It's a lot different than it was now. I had a paper route when I was 12.
Yeah, I want to get into the paper boy. I have something on that too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so basically, then I started working. Once I came back to San Jose, I started working at A&W Root Beer, where my cousin Kevin owned. And it was time that I get a car. It's time that, I start to work. And when you're young, at least for me, I was excited. So where I started at A&W Root Beer on a Tuesday, it's called Coney Day. all the Coney, dogs. And we would make freaking hundreds of them because they were $0.25 a piece.
Hot dogs?
Hot dogs, yeah, with chili sauce and onions and cheese or whatever.
Yeah.
So then I started working. Before you know it, I was the manager of that place. Then my cousin Kevin, he opened up another location in Cupertino, and he wanted me to go open that with him. So I was with A&W Root Beer till probably, well, obviously I met your mom there. Well, obviously, as far as, you go, not the audience.
Yeah.
And that's where I met my ex-wife, Shaun's mom. And yeah, I guess that's...
How old were you when you stopped working at A&W? Or I should say, while you were working, you ended up at the speed shop, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little
So
bit about...
while I was working, I started, coming across these guys with cars and whatnot, and evidently I started getting an interest in cars. And my first car was not the car of my dreams. My dad drives it around the corner, almost like I did with you, with that BMW that you didn't like.
I actually liked it. It was
You
mint.
didn't like
it
the
just
color.
wasn't the ideal.
It was an old folks color.
It was kind of a poop champagne brown.
But it ran good.
It was not. It was nice.
So my dad, around the corner, I had my eye on this Camaro that was at his buddy's paint shop, and it was for sale. It was a convertible. Looking back, it was nothing special, but it was a freaking Camaro.
And you were 16.
And my tail was white. I said, Dad, I want that car. So one day he was going to bring my car home, and I thought for sure it was the Camaro. And it was a 68 Plymouth Fury. And I'm like, what? And it cost $400 clean. It ended up working out into my favor because back then there was a lot of drive-in movies, and I had a bench seat.
Money.
I'm just saying, it is what it is, And then, so one day we went to my bass player's house for a party, and the Chevelle was literally right in the driveway. You had to walk around it to get into the door, and your mom and myself just went, oh, whoa, look at this thing. And then didn't think too much about it. Well, that guy lived around the corner from where the party was, literally the next street over, and he was going into the service, Army or something, so it was up for sale. I drove by that car to work, from work, you name it. I can't tell you how many times I drove by that car. And I didn't have any money. I was a kid. And he was selling it for $1,800. And it was a 1970 Chevelle Super Sport with the 396 in it, Cal induction hood. I learned later how popular that car was. So I went to my grandfather that I was living with. And I've never been good with asking him for money. And even back then, he ended up loaning me the $1,800. We went to his credit union or savings place or whatever it was.
That's a lot of money back then, right?
Yeah. And he wrote up, they had like a payment book to where you literally go in and pay and they stamp it. So I got my ethic as far as being responsible and wanting to do the right thing way back then. And that was just within. Nobody taught me that. You know what I mean?
So you really got into the muscle cars, and then you ended up working at a speed shop. And then if we were to just kind of fast forward into working out, right? So you're kind of turning into this 20s, right? We're getting into the 20s now where we're working, not really doing anything as far as a passion necessarily or a career, but then you end up somehow getting into training. How old were you when you first started working out?
Oh, there's so much in between that, but we'll just let that go. I was already graduated. I might have already been married. So I drive down there and fill out an application. I get a phone call. I had the hardest interview ever. I went through 4 people all day, and I walked out of there with a freaking headache, but I got the job. So that was a great job. Like I said, it was union, it had all the benefits. I ended up getting, I was there for so long. I was there for 19 years, from 85 to 2004, which I'm sure we'll get to. And it was great. It was fun. I was young. I was 25 years old. I was the guy in the van dropping off the newspaper bundles on the corner to the kids that you had to go knock on their door because Johnny was sleeping in.
The paper boy.
I was, so it's called circulation. So I had an area, if you will, that I was responsible for, and it was Cupertino.
Mm-hmm.
So thank God for that, because I was there for 19 years. We did a lot of things, it was good. I started, to answer your question, I started the gym at the same time.
The same time you started the Mercury News.
Yeah. I had 2 buddies that would go every now and then, and I went with them a couple times. And I remember looking back that it didn't really bite me for some reason. So then somehow I got the itch while you were little to start working out. So I go to this place, it's kind of like a Best Buy, and I buy this DP, I don't even know if this company's still around, weightlifting set. It had a bench, it had the bar, it had the plates were plastic and they were filled with sand. It had an instruction book. I was set. It had for the dumbbells, it just had a bar that you put your own plates on there, whatever. So I basically started teaching myself how to work out. Then I started looking at the magazines. Mm-hmm. Then I started cutting out pictures of the magazines, putting them on my wall. And throughout this whole process, I'm working out. And I made progress in 2 weeks. Your mom and I, it's like, what?
Your teens, 20s, you're growing.
I made so much progress so fast.
How did you learn? How did you teach yourself? Where did you?
I had an instruction book. I had an instruction book, and when you open up a Muscle and Fitness or a Flex magazine, or I don't think they had muscular development back then, the pros always had a workout program, a workout routine.
Got it.
So you just follow it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Then I started buying my own equipment. I bought a pulley machine. I was working out with a buddy of mine back then. I would buy a pair of 40s. He'd buy a pair of 50s because he worked out at the house. Mm-hmm. So we had dumbbells up to, I think, 80s. And we trained at my house. When I worked at the Saturday Mercury News, I would get up around, say, when I was in San Jose, roughly 1 a.m. Had to start at 3. We were off at 11 a.m. And when you're young, you just have energy. Mm-hmm. Going to segue into the gym scene. So I had all this stuff at home. It's like, you know what? Why pay for a gym membership when I can buy my own equipment and have it forever? Well, that lasted so long. Then somehow, driving home one day, I went by Gold's Gym in San Jose downtown. And back then, those gyms were brutal. Those gyms were intimidating. There was big guys there on steroids. It was just a whole new everything. And I walked in from across the whole gym, and there happened to be a guy by the name of Scott Wilson, who was an IFBB pro at the time that was still competing under a Weider contract, just kind of standing there with his arms kind of folded like this. And I went, holy shit. I have never seen anybody this big in my life.
Looked like a cartoon.
He had, oh my God, his arms, his tries, his shoulders. And I went in, this is awesome. I went in to buy a medium blue Gold's Gym tank top with gold printing on it. I'm like you. It has to be, it has to be it. So I was embarrassed. These guys are freaking huge.
Embarrassed about what?
That I want a medium tank top.
Got it.
And I literally go, after Scotty and I, who knows, I don't remember the conversation, but basically I was there to get a tank top. And I go, yeah, can I get a little medium, blue, tank top? I mean, I was 160 pounds.
Yeah.
160 at whatever age I was. Whatever age I don't know.
Early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s. And so I got my tank top. For some reason, the next day I joined. I joined Gold's Gym, which was, I don't remember being intimidated. I remember being excited because I'd been working out at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I made some progress at home on my own. And so I joined Gold's Gym, which happens to be the third Gold's Gym ever. It was the third Gold's Gym. Now, who knows how many Gold's Gyms are?
Yeah.
But it was actually number 3.
That's cool.
And Scott Wilson, who was, like I said, the pro, he was a part owner. He didn't own the whole thing, but he was a part owner.
Mm-hmm.
I started working out. And after 2 weeks, Scott goes, Dave. And I go, I call him Scotty. I go, what's Scotty? He goes, dude, we're gonna hit it hard and I'm gonna train you. So what? He goes, you have what it takes. I didn't know what genetics meant back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I still, to this day, didn't have great genetics, like to be a pro.
He just saw something in you.
My work ethic, the fact that I was changing. And when you're that young, you're making progress every week.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing like today's gyms. And obviously, again, I know I keep saying this, but it's going to segue into Ironworks, the gym that, we own now. Back then, it was, I don't even remember music. I'm not saying it didn't have it. I just don't remember music.
Mm-hmm.
No air conditioning. There's no heaters, because Joe Gold himself said, if you listen to music at a gym, you're going to lose 15% focus. And in the very first gym down in LA in 1965, where Arnold and all those guys came and trained, his heater worked and his air conditioning worked.
You just never used it.
No. So you learn to be tough out of the gate. I learned what training was about. And that was my life, besides, of course, my kids and everything. I still had the car, but it was by the wayside. I was pretty much done.
Mm-hmm.
Did everything I wanted to do to it. It was just kind of in the way. Bodybuilding. And people at this gym, they competed. So, of course, I went to a few, competitions. And I'm just like, there's no way I could ever get up there, and my freaking speed was like that. There's just no way.
Mm-hmm.
But we went. And like I said, when you went to the gym back then, there was no bullshit. We went to the gym to train and talk about lifting and talk about sets and reps. And just to give you an idea, when Scotty would train legs, he'd bring a bucket. And he freaking threw up every time he trained legs.
So he just knew he was going to push it to his limit, to where...
That's just the way we were all wired back then. We just freaking
all in.
Yeah. Supersets, drop sets. I mean, we did a lot of things that the bodybuilders are still doing today, way back then. And you're just on a mission, and I loved it. It just bit me. So I was at the Mercury News this whole time, and I'm telling myself, I don't want to retire at the Mercury News. It's a great retirement. I'm around some old fuddy-duddies that are just bitching and whining and complaining, and they're going to retire in 2 years, and I'm brushing elbows with these guys, and I go, I don't want to be this guy. So then in 1995, by the way, I competed from 1990 was my first show. that I did win.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get the overall, but I did win. Through my last show was 1995. My last show, I knew I wanted to open up a gym. And I'm like you, son, I did all my homework. I knew the equipment I wanted, the whole 9 yards. When it was time to fund it, I pushed out. That's the term I'm going to use. I pushed out. And I just, like, who are you kidding, Dave? Are you kidding, dude?
You kind of started self-sabotaging yourself and didn't think you had what it took to succeed, or...
And that's the first time ever. But it was about the money now. It was about the money. It wasn't that I didn't think that I couldn't run a gym. Obviously, I don't know. I didn't know that much back then like I do now, of course. But it was the finances.
Mm. You didn't have the money,
Nope.
or you...
Oh, no, I didn't have no money.
So you wanted to open a gym, but you didn't have the money to open the gym, so that was maybe the reason why you decided...
100%.
Yeah, because you didn't get a loan, you didn't go to the bank.
I did it. I didn't.
Yeah.
I never even thought about asking my dad for money, or I don't like asking for money. It's very uncomfortable.
You knew you wanted to open a gym, it just wasn't necessarily the right time financially or the right circumstances to, have a business partner or whatever the case was.
Didn't even think of business partner back then.
So you knew you wanted to, but you didn't.
I didn't. But I told myself, before I die, I am going to own a gym. That just wasn't the time.
Mm-hmm. Now, real quick, before you go too far ahead, I want to, because I know we're going to have a lot of listeners that are trainers, that are maybe beginners in the gym, or even people that have been training for a long time, that have always wanted to compete, and they've always said they wanted to compete, but maybe they haven't yet. What would you say to them? What would you tell someone who's interested in competing, whether it's men's physique, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's women's bikini? What would you tell them if you were to give them some sort of advice? Like, how do they make that next step, right? Like, you put yourself in an environment with competitors, and that sort of gave you the itch to want to at least start going to shows and seeing what it's all about. And it kind of maybe gave you some sort of comfort that, you know what, I can do this, right? What would you recommend to other people interested in competing?
So I'm going to go on record and I'm going to say this. Back in the day, there was only bodybuilding. There was a novice category and there was an open category. And of course they had, lightweight, middleweight, light, heavy, heavyweight. For the guys and the girls, that's all there was. So I want to touch on, because I've been wanting to get this out there. And yes, my gym has a posing room, and yes, I can help everybody compete. But the old school in me, when the physique category first came about, whenever that was, for the guys, I looked up the criteria on the IFBB and on the NPC. I looked up the criteria. And even today, everybody, if you want to go look up the criteria, it is night and day. The physiques, they don't want a bodybuilder. Literally in big, bold letters, no bodybuilders. Mm-hmm. We don't want you big. We don't want you hard. We don't want you striated. We don't want you, separated. So I'm thinking, and this is the first time I'm reading this, right? I'm thinking, I always think of like a Chippendale look. Most women enjoy a Chippendale look guy, like you, son. That's you. That's your physique. And that's very attractive. So I started thinking, I get it. As time went on, then they started adding figure for the girls, which I liked. Bikini, it's not that I don't like it. It's not that I don't love looking at beautiful women. It's a bikini contest. really no muscle.
Mhm.
And what does the IFBB stand for? International Federation of Bodybuilding.
For people out there
I'm going to get to your
that
question.
are interested in competing, right? There's tons of different divisions that they can go into these days. Obviously, I know with it being, you being more of an old school mindset, with it primarily being bodybuilding only,
Right.
it's evolved into a much larger multi-billion-dollar industry.
Correct.
So there's a lot more routes for people to go, right?
Correct.
So whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it for a long time or you don't know anything about it, what kind of advice would you give to somebody if they are just interested in maybe wanting to compete?
So is this somebody, son, that's like been working out a little bit?
Sure, yeah.
And maybe
They got the bug a little, they want to
maybe
take
they're
it to the
thinking
next
about
level.
First thing I would do is I would go to a show or two, take them to a competition, take them all day to see how long it is, for the prejudging in the
Just
morning.
Get a feel for it. Just
Get a feel for it. Look at what you have to do. As far as the category goes, again, obviously you all know that bodybuilding's it with me, but part of me gets this and part of me doesn't, because I think it's bullshit. But anyways, a lot of guys these days want to start in the physique category. And I go, why?
Well,
So I don't...
as big, they're not, it doesn't take maybe it's not as difficult. You don't have to.
Okay, so they don't want to work as hard.
You don't have to put a Speedo on, you don't have to pose. You still pose, and it's actually very difficult to get the men's physique posing down. It's just not
3 poses.
bodybuilding posing.
It's 3 poses, and your legs are covered up. What the fuck? So, in my opinion, the IFBB and the NPC are basically saying you don't have to train your legs. That's how an old school bodybuilder thinks. And why guys these days want to segue from a physique into this, into that, and maybe bodybuilding, yes, it's up to them. It's not the competitor's fault. I just want everybody out there to know I don't have anything against the competitors out there that do the physique category, because I know it's serious. I know you guys work hard, but I think you feel me on this. You know what I mean? And the guys that work hard, I know you got legs, because I can see them through the shorts. You know what I mean? But on a positive side, there's more for people. There's more for people to choose from, and let's say a physique or a bikini, it's more attainable in some people's minds. Well, I could do that.
Right.
Whereas back in the day when I was a bodybuilder, but again, that's all we do.
Right.
That's what we were striving for. Freaking quads and everything. So
It's a little bit, so it's a little softer these days. It's a little more mainstream. For example, my girlfriend, Giselle, just started working out and found a quick love for it. And she went to a show and she said, you know what? I want to take it more serious. I want to push myself to another level that I've never been able to push myself to before. I think I can do this, right?
Yeah.
And so it gave her a little bit more of an attainable goal. Like you going through school didn't really have any, you always had to have something that you were focused on that was pushing you, right, to want to be better. You were making sacrifices. She found that, she got on stage, and it was the most amazing experience that she's ever had to this day.
She killed it.
So but then she also is now taking what she learned in that experience, that whole journey, all the sacrifices, the up earlys, the cardio double days, training when you're sick. I mean, doing whatever it took. And so for a lot of people out there, they want to compete. So what would you say to them if they're thinking about it, but they haven't taken that step yet, or they've always said they wanted to do it, but they haven't done it?
Just guys and girls?
Yeah, just anybody that said they wanted to do it or that has thought about doing it and they haven't taken that step yet. What would you say to them?
Again, I would say we need to go to a couple shows.
Just get familiar.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I went to a few shows. My buddies were up there. You know, I had no clue what it was about. I didn't know what prejudging was. I didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go, like I said, for the whole day for the prejudging, which is in the morning, and then they have obviously the show at night where they give out, you know, the awards. It's a long day.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to go through that so they can see what's involved in that.
Right.
And somebody like Giselle, your girlfriend, because you and me, when she walked out on stage, she owned that stage, even though it was her only first time. And that's because she put everything she had into it.
Mm-hmm.
She practiced posing for 3 months every single fucking day. And that's what you got to do in this sport of bodybuilding, physique, bikini. It's amazing, everybody, what you got to put into this. It's a very selfish sport.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
You get to put everything else kind of on the back burner.
in a way,
Socializing,
you're right.
drinking, going out to eat,
You know, you're
staying up late.
so many sacrifices.
If you want to win, right? Not a lot of people compete to win. They just compete maybe to say they competed
Right.
or to just get on stage, to
Right.
say they got on stage.
Get their feet wet.
But the truth of the matter is, you know, you want to make the you should want to make these sacrifices, because when you get up there, you want to be damn proud of the work you put in, but you also want to feel like I did everything in my power to bring the best version of myself that I could.
Right.
Because when you instill that discipline and that time management and you create that systematic routine, you find that it carries on to everything else that you do in life, right?
It's funny you said that, but it's not, because you're my son. But that's, I've always said, and I'm sure you have too, if you can get ready for and I want to say this word right, this is a competition, everybody out there. This is not a pageant. It's a competition. And when we competed, everybody freaking brought it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody brought it. I mean, everybody that was up on those stages deserved to be there. Not like today.
It's a little different today, right?
Things are a lot different today.
This actually segues right into what you're doing today with Ironworks. Gyms over the years have changed, right? We've gone from the Gold's gyms, which is pretty much kind of where it all started.
Absolutely.
Right? Now we're in the CrossFit world, we're in the Orange Theories, we're in the Barry's boot camps. It's a lot more mainstream. It's more of a lifestyle. Bodybuilding wasn't really intriguing, attractive to majority of the people. You look like
right.
a cartoon character, a monster,
Look at
right?
look at the freak walk.
Look at the freaks, the mutants, right?
I used to walk down, when we go to Mexico, you were there, Rambo, hey Rambo, it's like, and I was always the type of guy, and you can vouch for me, I never wore tank tops. I always wore loose,
Big
I didn't
sweatshirt.
give a shit about
what other people
thought. And I'm still that way today. I don't care. And back when you compete, and as you know, because you competed, son, the 3 months or the 4 months leading up to a show, the only thing on my mind is that day on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm up on that stage, did I do everything I possibly could? Did I take shortcuts? God damn it! I should have done this. Should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win if that's what's up.
Yeah.
And obviously, as people can even tell by now, I'm passionate and I'm aggressive, and I give everything that I do 100%. And I guess that's good and bad, because I expect that from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, being in the industry of helping people lose weight, I've learned a lot since 2004. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Where people, they don't even want to look at themselves in the mirror when they're training.
Mm-hmm.
That blew me away the first time a lady said that to me, But to go back to the CrossFits and the Orange Theories and the Barry's Boot Camp. I don't have a problem with any of those. I think it's amazing that there's other outlets that other people can do that's going to help their health and fitness, their self-esteem, their social life, whatever. And it's what's funny, son, is this is the most amount of people that have been in the fitness that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're still the most obese.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there is other avenues, I think I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And someone comes into our gym and wants a CrossFit gym, we talk and I send them down to CrossFit and I says, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
If I was in CrossFit, I'd be giving it 100%.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with all the other things.
So Ironworks. Now, I know, we have, you're gonna definitely be on future episodes. So we'll be circling back around and talking a lot more about some of the other details and things that you've accomplished. But I want to go into Ironworks and how, it's not your traditional health club. It's not an In Shape. It's not a Fitness 19. It's not a Barry's Boot Camp or an Orange Theory, right? What is Ironworks Gym? Why did you start Ironworks? And what kind of people would be interested in going to a gym like that?
So as you said, over the years, there's been a lot of corporate gyms, big box gyms, as we call it, like 30,000 square foot gyms, 24-hour Nautilus. Yes, 24-hour Nautilus was the very first corporate gym to ever pop up many, many years ago. And now they're 24-hour, right?
24-hour
now 24
fitness.
hour. And there's been so many other gyms that have come up. Crunch Fitness, Fit Republic, In Shape, you name it. They're all corporate gyms. They're ran by corporate. And I'm not disrespecting these gyms. There is one, and you're going to hear about it, there is one gym that I can't stand. But as far as all those gyms and the people going in for $9.99, they have no idea, the person behind the counter doesn't know their name. They're just checking them in, maybe give them a towel, maybe saying hi, maybe not. They walk in, it's a free-for-all. Which you and I can walk in any gym. We can walk into a freaking closet and we can train.
Mm-hmm.
But the general public, they walk into these gyms like deers in the headlights. With corporate, it's about money. The people up top in this corporate world in the gym industry, they don't see your face. They don't know your name. All they want to know is
How much
dollar.
pay?
How much is this guy paying?
Mm-hmm.
Am I right?
Yeah, and that's why they're big box international corporations, is because it's a business. They don't have necessarily that personal touch, right, that we would all hope, because there are a lot of people out there, majority of the people don't know what they're doing, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So the corporate gyms, over the years, especially the latter part of the years with these cell phones and stuff, you go to any big gym and they're not serious, which, you know what? It's okay. If they're not serious in a big box gym, in the big box gyms, it's not a big deal, then, I don't have a problem with that. It's just not the gym for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to see me in a gym like that. As you're waiting for somebody on a machine, they do a set, and then they sit there and they bring their phone out. And you're waiting for their machine. And us, because we know gym etiquette, will say, excuse me, how many sets you got left? And they usually cop an attitude. And they said, I go 5. And I'll go, well, do you mind if I work in? And they say, no, I got 5 sets left. And me being me, say, fuck you, dude. You don't own that bench. Get the fuck off. I'm going to do a set, and then you can go back and finish your set. Stuff like that. It's night and day. But I wanted to bring back Ironworks Gym I have integrity. These big box gyms, there is no more integrity. Everything is about money, including the NPC with all these crossovers. It's about money. There's no more passion. There's no more integrity. Well, you know what? I have that in me. So I'm going to open an old school gym where you're not going to be on your phone out on the floor. You're going to leave it in your cubby. You're going to live for an hour without your phone. And the members that I attract, the first thing that everybody says is they're tired of these gyms or they're on their phone. That's like the number one thing I hear from everybody.
We're addicted to our phones. I mean, it's really tough for people. It's like almost like their kid, right? They're worried that they're gonna lose it or they're gonna miss a moment, and so they often get distracted when they're in the gym, which maybe is a reason that a lot of us work out but never see results, right?
Great point. I've said this a lot of different times. It's like, hey, you people in the gym that have been going to the same gym year after year after year. Think about a few people that have been there year after year after year. Have they changed? Do they look better? Do they look worse? They're going to at least look the same. But again, if the gym's okay with the phones, and if they're okay with just going and doing a couple sets and sitting on their phone for 20 minutes in between sets, that's fine, but not at Ironworks Gym. I'm bringing back a gym with brand new top of the line Atlantis strength equipment that money could buy. And the people that I'm attracting want to train.
Which is why you have the rules that you have.
I have rules. And I've also turned down probably about, and this is the honest truth, everybody, probably like 12 people. I did not accept 12 people so far.
Why is that?
Because they weren't a good fit for Ironworks Gym.
How did you know they weren't a good fit?
Everyone had their own little quirk. I wasn't feeling them. Hey, what, dude? You don't have this, and whatever.
Just the vibe, the energy.
Just the vibe out of the gate. I didn't even waste my time on a tour. And professionally, I didn't sign them up, but they don't even know it. They weren't a fit for the gym, and it wasn't fair to have someone like that on the floor with the members that I already have.
The energy, the community, the environment that you were creating, you wanted to make sure that you were, respecting the other people in your community by not bringing in
100%.
the people that maybe didn't have the right mindset.
100%. And the people that come in there, they're a great fit. And I'm building my business slow, but it's quality. It's not about the money. And you know that.
And that's where it's dramatically different than anywhere else you go, because usually you'll have every person under the sun working out in that place. Some people are serious, some people aren't.
Right.
And so you're creating a more serious environment. So for anybody that's in the Tracy, San Joaquin Valley area, or even if you're out in Sacramento, San Francisco, and you're looking for a real gym where you want to compete, you want to take your fitness to the next level, even if you're a youth in the area, right? We just launched a new youth intro to weightlifting program.
Correct.
That's going to be starting soon. So if you're a youth, not even necessarily a youth athlete, but just someone interested in wanting to work out and learn how to work out properly for a reasonable cost, where it's not a big corporate rate that's trying to take the money from you, but just you have this genuine desire to educate, because that's what we find is usually the problem, and that's what lacks confidence, that's what lacks consistency, because you don't see the results. So you want to create an environment for people that if they want to get serious about their health and fitness goals, then they need to go to Ironworks Gym.
Yeah, if I could, I would like to touch on that youth intro to weightlifting, if I may, just for a second. So I've thought about this type of a program for probably 4 or 5 years, And the main reason is, yeah, I have a soft spot for our youths that are coming up, our futures. But more so, even when my son, Shaun, who's interviewing me, was a freshman at his high school, it's unfortunate, but every high school, at least in Tracy, I'm not going to say Kimball because I don't know for sure. I know they have decent equipment, but the programs for these kids when they sign up for weightlifting are horrible. Horrible. They walk in, and I've been told this by more than one person. They walk into their class, I don't know if it's a teacher, I don't know if it's a coach, I don't know if it's an instructor, sitting at a table, and the kids are, you can imagine 30 kids around this guy. Hey, coach, what are we doing today? Oh, pick a compound movement and then whatever. And that's pretty much it. And these kids are getting hurt. They're putting 225 on their back and squatting and getting hurt. They're not learning proper form, proper breathing. These classes, they actually shouldn't even have them.
It's more of a risk than a reward.
It's definitely a risk, and they're learning bad habits. And we all know bad habits take a little bit more time to switch over to good habits.
Fix, right.
So that's why I'm opening up my youth intro to weightlifting, and at least in the beginning, I'm the one that's going to be training these kids, and I am so excited about it. I'm literally so excited about it. The booklet is done. I'm working on the criteria as far as what I'm going to do. They're only 8-week courses. They're going to learn the anatomy. They're just going to learn what they need to learn. Nothing's going to be over their head. It's going to be basics. And there's going to be some classroom work as well. I want them to show me where a bicep is. I want them to show me where a hamstring is. They're going to learn that stuff. And it's going to benefit them whenever they're done with our program.
For the rest of their life.
For the rest of their life, and wherever they end up going, they're going to know what they're doing.
What's the age range? I know we talked about it, but because you're going to have adults that don't know what they're doing, and then you're going to have
it's a whole nother subject, yeah.
12-year-olds that don't know what they're doing. So I know this is sort of the introductory phase right now.
Yeah.
So what kind of people are you looking for, or who would this program be a good fit for?
Okay, so a couple things here. It's going to be interesting to see who signs up, because in my mind, I have a beginner, intermediate, and an advanced program. And I don't care how much you know, you're going to start at the beginner level, because I guarantee they're still going to learn something. Mm-hmm. And then you have athletes. And I also, in a short period of time, I'm going to reach out to the athletic directors. I know some coaches in this town. Send them to me prior to a season, say football players. We're going to be working on we're going to have a strength program. They're going to learn the proper nutrition on how to eat. When they go to their 2-a-days in the summer, these coaches are going to go, what the frick? Mm-hmm. It's only going to help the team win.
Right.
And then give them back to me after the season's over.
So they can come back bigger and stronger the next season.
So that's another avenue that I want. But as far as to answer your question for the youth intro to weightlifting, it's going to be roughly high school or some mature middle school. So that's roughly maybe maybe a mature 12-year-old, through high school. And yeah, you're right. Adults. A lot of adults don't know all this stuff, but I'm excited about it. When it comes to personal training, I've been doing it forever. But now where I'm at, I could be picky as to who I want to train. I want to throw something out there just briefly. Ironworks Gym, I don't want to scare anybody away. We have a great time, you guys. We have fun. The equipment is amazing. I have a members lounge for you. I could go on and on and on. A posing room, we have fun, we laugh.
Boot camps.
We have, yes, thank you. We have Build and Burn boot camp throughout the day at Ironworks Gym. But the bottom line is we just want people that are serious about lifting weights, period. And that's what it's about.
Where could people find you? I know you're on Instagram.
Yeah,
Facebook.
on Instagram and Facebook, it's Ironworks Gym Tracy. I'm more active on Instagram, and we're going to be starting up a YouTube channel, in the near future. But to get the majority of your questions answered, go to our website, and that is ironworksgymtracy.com, and pull it up. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with what you read, as far as you're going to be reading about me, you're going to be reading about Susie, our backgrounds. We are affiliated with Jay Cutler. I don't know who knows him out there. I'm sure a lot of people do. 4-time Mr. Olympia, Jay Cutler. Me and my son, matter of fact, my son picked him up from the airport one time, him and his girlfriend. So Jay and I, we talk kind of on the regular. We kind of give each other shit at the moment. We just kind of pick on each other. But I'm actually selling Cutler Nutrition, and he approached me about possibly selling his supplements. And at the time, nobody else sold his supplements but him on his website, because he's a hands-on guy. And his supplements are, I'll put my life on the line, because he's putting his name out there. And his whey protein, for instance, is 100% pure. He just has good products. So Jay Cutler is kind of I don't want to say a fixture, but he could probably drop in and out every now and then. Who knows?
So lastly, what's next for you? So this year, 2020, you're starting the Youth Intro to Weightlifting program. You're looking for people who are wanting to take their health and fitness seriously. So you're looking for new members, new boot campers, some people maybe looking to compete, so some personal training clients. But what's next for you? Are you ever get the itch to want to compete again, or
No.
are you just looking to really stay focused on the business and building the business, getting out there in the YouTube world and creating some fun videos? Or
yeah, I'm gonna obviously have to hire somebody that's real savvy with the social media and whatnot, because I honestly don't have time. And it's gonna be kind of interesting, because obviously I'm gonna have to give whoever the information as to what I want. As far as competing, no, I'm done. I still love training. That's still a very much a passion of mine. It's a lifestyle, the nutrition and whatnot. But yes, I have a posing room, one of the only posing rooms around anywhere that I know of, except for Vegas Gold's, and I hate to say it, but my posing room blows theirs away. But to answer your question, my specialty and what really gets my tail wagging is working with somebody that wants to compete, that I could tell is going to give 110%, because I'm going to give them 110% of me. And when we're at that show and they're up on stage, it's like I'm up there with them. I'm going to know their every move before they move it. And I kind of stopped myself here. The shows, they're just different these days. But if I have people in there that we got ready, I'll definitely go. And I'm not going to say I'll never go unless I have some members up there from Ironworks Gym.
Well, last question, and then I'll let you go. In your opinion, over your last 34 plus years of experience, why do you think most people fail when it comes to their health and fitness? And what kind of advice do you have for them?
That's the $1 million question.
Because we always tell people what to do.
Yeah.
But why do you think those that have tried, or maybe those that have the fear of trying, maybe those that just don't have the confidence that they can ever achieve a goal, like, why do most people fail when it comes to their health and fitness?
Like I just said, that is the $1 million question. And the first thing that I could come up with is they don't want it bad enough. They think they do, but they don't. Because folks out there, if you're on some kind of a program, you have a personal trainer, you're on a nutrition program, if you want it bad enough, you're gonna succeed. So that's my number one, is they think they want it bad enough, but they don't. The majority of the people out there don't have discipline. They don't have the willpower. They're all excuses. They're all excuses. And you and me, Shaun, we've heard them all. We've probably heard them all, and, me being who I am, because I know you're a lot mellower, with your clients, I call them on shit. But at the end of the day, when they get to where they want to go and they're crying on my shoulder and I'm crying with them because I changed their life, fuck money. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So I guess my answer is they don't want it bad enough.
So what would your advice be for them?
First of all, you got to look at yourself in the mirror. Depending if you're 400 pounds, if you're diabetic, pre-diabetic, because when it comes to clients, some of them are just about aesthetics and looking good at the beach. But then there's the ones that are unhealthy. They're not going to be around for their grandkids. So when I have somebody in front of me like that, I hit them where it hurts. I go, you're not going to be around to see your grandkids. Your doctor's telling you got to stop this or you're going to die. And people still will do it because they think they're invincible. You know what I mean?
Or they're going to live forever.
And it's tough. Unfortunately, that's why there's us. Because they come to us, most of them come to us like we're the magic pill. And we all know out there's no magic pill, and we're not the magic pill. We are advising and giving you 100% of professional advice, and you either do it or you don't. It's a bummer because I've probably had more people fail than succeed.
And it sounds like because they don't look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves the tough questions.
Am I ready to do this?
They'd rather just go to the magic pill or go to something that they think is going to be the easier route rather than looking at yourself in the mirror and facing the tough questions, because the hard work is done before you get to the gym, right? The hard work is done in the mind. The hard work is done with the relationship with yourself, which is exactly why the Health Before Fitness podcast and the Health Before Fitness mindset even came about, is because if you get your mind right, then the fitness is just a byproduct.
You and I have always said that.
It's really hard to achieve a fitness goal if you don't have your mind right.
1,000,000% correct.
So
1,000,000%. You got to be honest with yourself. And there is no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts for anything in life. That sounds like a cliche, but it's a fact. You gotta earn whatever it is you want and you want to get to, and you get. Nothing is free. But guess what? When you get there and you look back, I'm going to ask them, was it worth it? And guess what they're going to say? Hell yes. You've helped me change my life. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough with the average person out there wanting to lose weight. Brings out the bonbons, and they have all these excuses. Oh, I'm stressed, so I started eating. It's just all excuses.
yeah.
And then you and I get some tough love going because that's what they need. Yeah.
It's fun, Pops. Love you.
Love you too.
Thank you for being the first guest. And
hopefully you have me on again.
Yeah, you bet. You're gonna be putting in a lot of work between now and the next time you come on, so I'm looking forward to sharing some more stories.
Good. I hope I help some of your listeners out there, with what, the questions you asked and where I went. And, obviously this is just one person giving their feedback as to, but you know what? Yeah, I lived it for 35 years.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of me, guys. Come and see me.